Okay, today I want to go over some popular and not so popular time travel stories and accounts. I hope you enjoy. Make sure to like and follow for more stories like these. If you have anything you would like us to cover, leave it in the comments. Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. In 1911, Charlotte Ann Moberly, 1846–1937, and Eleanor Jourdain, 1863–1924, published a book entitled An Adventure, under the names of Elizabeth Morrison and Frances Lamont. They described a visit to the Petit Trianon, a small chateau in the grounds of the Palace of Versailles, where they claimed they saw ghosts including Marie Antoinette and others. Their story caused a sensation, and was subject to much ridicule. Their story: on August 10, 1901, Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain went for a walk in the gardens of Versailles. As they strolled, the two women went down an empty lane, searching for the Petit Trianon and Marie Antoinette's hamlet. The two ended up lost in the woods, and they asked a pair of gardeners for directions. They walked past a woman and girl in a cottage, a pair of guards wearing capes, and a man at a pavilion. They spoke to a gentleman with a strange accent and were scolded away from a chapel. The winding path took Moberly and Jourdain over a rustic bridge and through an arbor, then across a meadow with long grass. Finally, they reached a lady sitting on a terrace sketching. The entire walk struck both women as completely ordinary yet eerie. Moberly wrote that, "The stillness and oppressiveness were so unnatural. It was almost as though we were walking in a dream." It was only later the women wondered if they had slipped through time. Both women described a feeling of depression and anxiety, beginning when they wandered down the path. Moberly was shocked to learn that Jourdain didn't see a woman sketching on the terrace, even though Moberly swore they sat only a few feet from her. After their journey, Moberly asked Jourdain, "Do you think that the Petit Trianon is haunted?" Jourdain instantly responded, "Yes, I do." At that point, the two women independently wrote accounts of their journey and started researching the history of Versailles to learn more about what had happened. What do you think happened on their walk that day? Did they have a time slip, or is there something more to the story? Chaplin's time traveler. In October 2010, Northern Irish filmmaker George Clark uploaded a video clip entitled Chaplin's Time Traveler to YouTube. The clip analyzes bonus material in a DVD of the Charlie Chaplin film The Circus. Included in the DVD is footage from the film's Los Angeles premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater in 1928. At one point, a woman is seen walking by, holding up an object to her ear. Clark said that, on closer examination, she was talking into a thin, black device that had appeared to be a phone. Clark concluded that the woman was possibly a time traveler. The clip received millions of hits and was the subject of televised news stories. Nicholas Jackson, associate editor for The Atlantic, says the most likely answer is that she was using a portable hearing aid, a technology that was just being developed at the time. Philip Skroska, an archivist at the Bernard Becker Medical Library of Washington University School of Medicine, thought that the woman might have been holding a rectangular ear trumpet. New York Daily News writer Michael Sheridan said the device was probably an early hearing aid, perhaps an acousticon manufactured by Miller Reese Hutchison. What do you think? Just a hearing aid or ear trumpet? Or do you still think it may be a phone? Let us know in the comments. Present-day hipster at 1941 bridge opening. A photograph from 1941 of genuine authenticity of the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Gold Bridge, British Columbia, is sometimes alleged on the internet to show a time traveler. It was claimed that his clothing and sunglasses were of the present day and not of the styles worn in the 40s, while his camera was anachronistically small. Further research suggested that the present-day appearance of the man would not have necessarily been out of place in 1941. The style of sunglasses he is wearing first appeared in the 1920s. On first glance, the man is taken by many to be wearing a printed T-shirt, but on closer inspection it seems to be a sweater with a sewn-on emblem, the kind of clothing often worn by sports teams of the period. The shirt resembles one that was used by the Montreal Maroons, an ice hockey team from that era. The remainder of his clothing would appear to have been available at the time, though his clothes are far more casual than those worn by the other individuals in the photograph. His camera is smaller than most of that era, but cameras of that size did exist. While it is unclear what make his camera was, Kodak had manufactured portable cameras of equivalent size since 1938. The time-traveling hipster became a case study in viral internet phenomena which was presented at the Museums and the Web 2011 conference in Philadelphia. What do you think? Was he a time traveler? Or just dressed interesting for the time? Mobile device in 1943. Man on the beach. A photograph from 1943 of genuine authenticity, showing a scene of holidaymakers on Towan Beach in Newquay, Cornwall, was uploaded to Twitter in November 2018 by multimedia artist Stuart Humphreys, which was alleged by some viewers to show a time traveler operating an anachronistic mobile device, such as a phone. This tweet was picked up by news outlets including Fox News in the US, and various tabloid newspapers in the UK, such as the Daily Mirror. Fueled by media websites such as LadBible, it gained global coverage via news outlets in Russia, Iran, Taiwan, Hungary, China, and Vietnam, amongst others. Humphreys, the original uploader, was quoted in these stories as dismissing the time travel theories, stating that the man in question was probably just rolling a cigarette. I have to say, I do think he looks like he may be rolling a cigarette, but I could be wrong. What does it look like to you? Rudolph Fentz. The story of Rudolph Fentz is an urban legend from the early 1950s and has been repeated since as a reproduction of facts and presented as evidence for the existence of time travel. The essence of the legend is that in New York City in 1951 a man wearing 19th-century clothes was hit by a car. The subsequent investigation revealed that the man had disappeared without a trace in 1876. The items in his possession suggested that the man had traveled through time from 1876 to 1951 directly. The folklorist Chris Aubick investigated the story and found it originated in a science fiction book, A Voice from the Gallery, 1953, by Ralph M. Holland, which had copied the tale from I'm Scared, 1951, a short story by Jack Finney, 1911 to 1995. After looking at this one a few times, I truly do love the story. But I think that's what it is, a story. Am I missing something about it that I should know? Let me know in the comments. Mike, Madman, Markham in 1995. A caller to Art Bell's syndicated radio show Coast to Coast AM named Mike Markham claimed to have discovered a means of time travel using a Jacob's ladder. In attempting to build a larger version of this device, Markham admitted that he had stolen several power transformers from the local power company, St. Joseph Light and Power in King Surtee, Missouri. In using them to power his time machine, he caused a local blackout that brought him to the attention of authorities. Police records confirmed that he had been arrested for this theft, and sentenced to 60 days in jail plus a suspended sentence. He called the radio show again in 1996, stating he was building a second time machine from legally acquired parts, and was 30 days from completing the device. He claimed to have sent around 200 items and small animals through this device, and announced he was going to travel through it himself. Markham then disappeared in 1997. His absence led to a number of theories, as well as giving birth to a number of urban legends. In 2015, Bell interviewed him again on his radio show, Midnight in the Desert, where Markham claimed that he had been transported 2 years into the future and 800 miles away, landing near Fairfield, Ohio, but suffered amnesia. While living in a homeless shelter, Markham slowly remembered his name, his social security number, and other memories that enabled him to re-enter society. This is one of my all-time favorite time travel stories, and we'll cover in more in depth in its own episode. But what do you think of Mr. Markham's story? Do you think it's true? John Titor. Between 2000 and 2001, an online bulletin board user self-identified as John Titor became popular as he claimed to be a time traveler from 2036 on a military mission. Holding the many worlds interpretation is correct and consequently every time travel paradox is impossible, he stated that many events which occurred up to his time would indeed occur in this timeline. These included a devastating civil war in the US in 2008 followed by a short nuclear World War III in 2015, which killed 3 billion people. In the years following his last posts and disappearance in 2001, the non-fulfillment of his specific predictions made his popularity decrease. Criticism has pointed out flaws in Tider's stories and investigations, suggesting his character may be a hoax and a creation of two siblings from Florida. The story has been retold on numerous websites, in a book, in the Japanese visual novel, Anime Stylus, Gate, and in a play. He may also have been discussed occasionally on the radio show Coast to Coast AM. In this respect, the Tider story may be unique in terms of broad appeal from an originally limited medium, an internet discussion board. We have covered the John Tider story already on this channel. If you have not seen it, make sure to check it out. I'm under the impression that, if John Tider was a time traveler, I think the name is an alias, similar to 007. I think there could be more than one. But what do you think? What do you think of the events that John predicted? Are they going on now? Bob White, Tim Jones. Similar to John Tider, Bob White or Tim Jones sent an unknown number of spam emails between 2001 and 2003. The subject of the emails was always the same, that an individual was seeking to find someone who could supply a dimensional warp generator. In some instances, he claimed to be a time traveler stuck in 2003, and in others he claimed to be seeking the parts only from other time travelers. Several recipients began to respond in kind, claiming to have equipment such as the requested dimensional warp generator. One recipient, Dave Hill, set up an online shop from which the time traveler purchased the warp generator, formerly a hard drive motor, while another Dave charged thousands of dollars for time travel courses before he would sell the requested hardware. The name, Bob White, was taken from an alias that the second Dave used when responding, a reference to the Bob Whites of Trixie Belden fame. Soon afterward, the time traveler was identified as professional spammer Robert J. Tadino, known as Robbie. Tadino's attempts to travel in time were a serious belief, and while he believed he was perfectly mentally stable, his father was concerned that those replying to his emails had been preying on Tadino's psychological problems. In his book Spam Kings, journalist Brian S. McWilliams, who had originally uncovered Tadino's identity for Wired magazine, revealed that Tadino had been previously diagnosed with dissociative disorder and schizophrenia, explaining the psychological problems of which his father had spoken. I have to admit that I don't know much about this story, and I'm hearing it for the first time as I'm researching for this. I'm going to have to look into more. Have you heard this story before? Do you know more about it? Let me know in the comments. Andrew Carlson was supposedly arrested in March 2003 for SEC violations for making 126 high-risk stock trades and being successful on every one. As reported, Carlson started with an initial investment of $800 and ended with over $350 million, which drew the attention of the SEC. Later reports suggest that after his arrest, he submitted a 4-hour confession wherein he claimed to be a time traveler from 200 years in the future. He offered to tell investigators such things as the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden and the cure for AIDS in return for a lesser punishment, and to be allowed to return to his time craft, although he refused to tell investigators the location or workings of his craft. A mysterious man posted his bail and Carlson was scheduled for court hearing but was never seen again. Records show that he never existed. The Carlson story likely originated as a fictional piece in Weekly World News, a satirical newspaper, and was later repeated by Yahoo News, where its fictitious nature became less apparent. It was soon reported by other newspapers and magazines as fact. This in turn drove word-of-mouth spread through email inboxes and internet forums, leading to far more detailed descriptions of events. This is another one of my favorite time traveler stories. Was Andrew just not careful and made too much money and brought too much attention to himself? Did he give up the cure for AIDS? We did catch Osama bin Laden a few years later. Håkan Nordqvist. A video uploaded in 2006 shows a Swedish man named Håkan Nordqvist claiming that he had been accidentally transported to 2046 when attempting to fix the sink in his kitchen. There in the future, he immediately met someone who revealed and proved to be himself about 70 years old, and with whom he had a great time. He filmed a short footage of the two smiling and hugging each other and showing the tattoo they had on their right arms. The story was a marketing campaign promoting the pension plans of the insurance company AMF. I have seen this video many times and I have to say it had me intrigued when I first saw it. I was saddened to learn it as a marketing campaign. But maybe it's a cover-up for proof of time travel. iPhone. In an 1860 painting, some online viewers claimed that an 1860 painting by Austrian artist Ferdinand Georg Waldmüller titled The Expected depicted a woman holding and staring down at a mobile phone while strolling along a path in the countryside. However, art experts debunked these claims and stated that the alleged mobile phone the woman was holding in the painting was actually a prayer book. I have to say, looking at this painting gives me a lot of questions. Why is the book so small? Now let's get into some of the alleged time travel technology. Alleged time travel technology. Die Glock, the bell, is a purported Nazi time machine that was supposedly part of a flying saucer. The bell was a purported top-secret scientific technological device, wonder weapon, or Wunderwaffe, developed in the 1940s in Nazi Germany. Rumors of this device have persisted for decades after WW2 and were used as a plot trope in the fiction novel Lightning by Dean Koontz, 1988. First fully described by Polish journalist and author Igor Witkowski in Prawda o Wunderwaffe, 2000. It was later popularized by military journalist and author Nick Cook, who associated it with Nazi occultism, anti-gravity, and free energy suppression research. Mainstream reviewers have criticized claims about Die Glock as being pseudoscientific, recycled rumors, and a hoax. Die Glock and other alleged Nazi miracle weapons have been dramatized in video games, television shows, and novels. In his 2001 book The Hunt for Zero Point, author Nick Cook identified claims about Die Glock as having originated in the 2000 Polish book Prawda o Wunderwaffe, The Truth About the Wonder Weapon, by Igor Witkowski. Cook described Witkowski's claims of a device called the bell, engineered by Nazi scientists, that was a glowing, rotating contraption, rumored to have some kind of anti-gravitational effect, be a time machine, or part of an SS anti-gravity program, for a flying saucer. I have looked into Die Glock a lot, as well as it ties to the Kecksburg incident in Element 115. I also love the way that it is written into the story like of the zombies in Call of Duty and Black Ops games. What do you think? Did the Wunderwaffe ever get completed? Did the bell leave? The chronovisor Italian Benedictine monk Pellegrino Ornetti claimed to have used a time viewer which could film the past without sound called a chronovisor to obtain a photograph of the crucifixion of Jesus and view scenes from ancient Rome, including a performance of the Lost Play Thyestes. According to author Paul J. Naheen, a short story by Horace Gold, using the pen name Dudley Dell, called The Biography Project, published in Galaxy Science Fiction magazine, may have influenced Ornetti's claim. According to Guardian writer Mark Pilkington, Ornetti's glory was short-lived. Another magazine revealed that Christ was a reversed image of a postcard from the Santuario dell'Amore Misericordioso, in the town of Collevalenza. More recently, doubt has been cast on his transcription of Thyestes, and an apparent deathbed confession has also surfaced. There is a lot of info online about the chronovisor. The first time I remember hearing about it was from interviews from Andrew Basiago. I know there is a patent listed for it as well. All in all, I hope one day the public has access to the chronovisor technology in order to get an accurate account of history, without going back in time and messing things up or changing things. Iranian time machine. In April 2013, the Iranian news agency Fars carried a story claiming a 27-year-old Iranian scientist had invented a time machine that allowed people to see into the future. A few days later, the story was removed and replaced with a story quoting an Iranian government official that no such device had been registered. The Ariaic time-traveling machine Razagi's device was registered with Iran's Center for Strategic Inventions. He claimed it could predict an individual's future with 98% accuracy, print out a report detailing an individual's future life for 5 to 8 years, fit into a personal computer case. Government use. Razagi said the machine could help Iran's government prepare for challenges, such as military confrontations, currency fluctuations, and oil prices. However, the story was later revealed to be fake. The original Farsi story was deleted from the Fars news agency's website, and the link now goes to an error page. A second interview with Razagi revealed that he was actually claiming to have invented an agent-based modeling program that could predict outcomes. Razagi was unable to answer questions about his education background. What do you think was the Iranian time machine ever made? Or is it possible the Iranian government just covered it up so the world never knew what they had? Philadelphia Experiment and Montauk Project. Philadelphia Experiment. The Philadelphia Experiment is a conspiracy theory about a secret U.S. Navy experiment in 1943. The story: the USS Eldridge, a destroyer escort, was allegedly made invisible and teleported from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Norfolk, Virginia. The experiment was part of a secret government project to create a cloaking device for warships. The origin: the theory originated in the 1950s with claims by Carl M. Allen and Morris K. Jessup. The evidence: there are no documents in the Naval History and Heritage Command that confirm the event. Possible explanations: the theory may be due to mistaken identity, misinterpretation of real experiments, or fabrication for entertainment. There is much more we can talk about with the Philadelphia experiments. But I'm trying to just stick to the base knowledge of what happened. In a future video I would like to go over the life of Alfred Bielek aka Edward Cameron and what happened when he and Duncan Cameron jumped off the USS Eldridge and went far into the future. But what do you think? Did the Philadelphia experiment ever take place? Montauk Project. The Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that alleges there were a series of United States government projects conducted at Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York, for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research including time travel. Stories about the Montauk Project have circulated since the early 1980s. According to UFO researcher Jacques Vallée, the Montauk experiment stories seem to have originated with the highly questionable account of Preston Nichols and Al Bielek, who both claimed to have recovered repressed memories of their own involvement. Preston Nichols also claims that he was periodically abducted to continue his participation against his will. Nichols, born May 24, 1946, on Long Island, New York, claims to have degrees in parapsychology, psychology, and electrical engineering, and he has written a series of books, known as the Montauk Project series, along with Peter Moon, whose real name is Vincent Barbaric. The primary topic of the Montauk Project concerns the alleged activities at Montauk Point. These center on topics including United States government, military experiments in fields such as time travel, teleportation, mind control, contact with extraterrestrial life, and staging faked Apollo moon landings, framed as developments that followed the 1943 Philadelphia experiment. Both Peter Moon and Preston Nichols have encouraged speculation about the contents. For example, they wrote, "Whether you read this as science fiction or non-fiction, you are in for an amazing story," in their first chapter, describing much of the content as soft facts, in a guide for readers and publishing a newsletter with updates to the story. The work has been characterized as fiction, because the entire account was fabricated by Preston Nichols, and to some extent, Stuart Swerdlow, who has consistently been shown to contradict his own backstory, and it does appear as if Swerdlow just wanted to become famous in the New Age community, and establish a reputation for himself. Even though I'm posting the doubt in the story of the Montauk Project, it is by far one of my favorite topics to discuss. I have done interviews with Peter Moon and other people that claim to have involvement in these projects as well. I would highly recommend watching the interview with all the people involved in the projects. Tell us what you think. Do you think these stories are true, or are they just telling an amazing story, like Preston and Peter say? Side note: when I was digging for more stuff on Montauk lately, and my studies involve lawyer Daniel Sheehan and his cases with Scientology, I learned in order for Daniel to work with Scientology, he was looking for their biggest secrets, which got him on the topic of Joseph McMoneygle and Ingo Swann, two of the best remote viewers to ever be recorded. Ingo Swann was at one point a Scientologist, and Vincent Barbaric aka Peter Moon was also a Scientologist who worked directly under Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. Ingo Swann was reporting back to Scientology of all his findings in Project Stargate, which was a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1977 at Fort Meade, Maryland, by the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, and SRI International. I am working on understand the relationship between Peter Moon and Ingo Swann and how their project could have overlapped at some points. Let me know if there is anything out there that I'm missing. Okay, we made it to the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what we are doing, hit that like for us. Share this out if you get a chance. Make sure to leave us a comment with anything I missed or you would like me to cover. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next one.